Lewis Hamilton's P8 proved something nobody really expected. Because this wasn't about points, it wasn't about pace, it wasn't even about overtakes. What happened in Baku revealed something much deeper: the truth about Ferrari's internal war, the cracks in trust, and the moment Leclerc's frustration spilled over in words the cameras never showed. On TV, it looked like a simple swap gone wrong, but behind the silence of the Ferrari pit wall, there was chaos. Radio messages hidden from the broadcast, engineers stumbling, and a teammate who called the order stupid and not fair. Hamilton crossed the line in P8, but that number now carries weight far beyond the midfield result, because the way it happened exposed Ferrari's biggest weakness: they cannot control their own drivers, their own orders, or their own politics. This is not just about a failed swap, it's about what that failure means, and why Hamilton's so-called misjudgment has become the loudest signal yet that Ferrari's hierarchy is breaking. It began on lap 42. Hamilton, armed with fresher tyres, closed in on Leclerc. The instruction was clear: let Lewis through, let him chase the pack ahead. Leclerc obeyed, he moved aside. Hamilton surged forward, but the mission was doomed before it even started. Norris, Tsunoda, Lawson, they were too far ahead, and Ferrari had waited too long to make the call. Still, Hamilton pushed, carving seconds out of the gap, refusing to let the chance die. Then came the question. Leclerc's voice cut through the static. If Lewis cannot pass in front, are we swapping back or are we keeping it like that? A simple query, but laced with tension. His engineer hesitated. I'll come back to you. By the final lap, the verdict was delivered. Swap back. Hamilton's engineer, Riccardo Adami, urged him to slow. Let Charles by. Hajar is close behind. The order was late, the straight too short. Hamilton lifted, he braked, but the finish line arrived faster. P8 was his by 4/10. On the radio, Hamilton cursed. On the other channel, Leclerc called it stupid and not fair. Two voices, one team, and a result that exposed more than just a botched order. What the world didn't see on the broadcast was the real story. The untelevised Ferrari radios turned a routine swap into a declaration of war. Leclerc's voice was sharp, dripping with sarcasm. He can enjoy that P8. Moments later, frustration broke through. It's just stupid, it's not fair. Not the calm, diplomatic Leclerc the cameras usually show, but a man humiliated, questioning his own team. On the other side, Hamilton's radio was no less revealing. After crossing the line, damn it, one word, loaded with more meaning than a press conference ever could. Not anger at Leclerc, not anger at the order, anger at the system that left him exposed again. And then came the apologies. Bozzy to Leclerc, sorry about that. Apologies that sound like bandages on a wound still bleeding. Ferrari had turned the fight for P8 into a public mess, with both drivers leaving the race more distrustful than before. The paddock noticed, fans noticed, and within Ferrari's garage, the silence after the radios told the story. This wasn't about points, it was about authority slipping through their fingers. This was never about an 8th place, it was about hierarchy. Ferrari tried to play both sides, give Hamilton the chance, then promise Leclerc the place back. But by doing so, they revealed something far more dangerous: a team without control. For Leclerc, the swap was humiliation. He obeyed the call, let Hamilton through, and then was left chasing shadows. When Ferrari demanded the reversal, it was already too late. His sarcastic "enjoy that P8" wasn't just aimed at Hamilton, it was aimed at the pit wall that betrayed him with indecision. For Hamilton, the failed handback carried a different message. He showed that even when ordered, he is not a driver who can simply be managed. He lifted, he braked, but he crossed the line ahead. A mistake on paper, but symbolically, it was proof that Ferrari cannot dictate terms to him the way they once did with others. And in the middle, the engineers, Bozzy apologizing, Adami stumbling, two voices exposing a team divided, no unity, no clarity, just fragments of control slipping in front of the world. This wasn't a race order gone wrong, it was a broadcast of Ferrari's weakness, and a reminder that Hamilton's presence inside the team has already changed the balance of power. This wasn't the first time Ferrari turned a simple order into chaos. History is littered with the same mistakes, replayed under new faces. Think back to Vettel, the infamous Hasio multi-21 echo, the moments when strategy calls collapsed into mistrust, the engineer's hesitation, the silence on the radio, deja vu for anyone who has followed Ferrari long enough. Leclerc himself has lived this before, calls to push, then calls to back off, promises of strategy that evaporated within laps. Each time the same pattern: Ferrari overcomplicates, Ferrari delays, Ferrari fractures, and Hamilton knows this pattern better than anyone. At Mercedes, team orders were sharp, decisive, absolute, obeyed instantly because they carried authority. In Baku, he saw the opposite, a team without conviction, a structure already crumbling. The swap fiasco wasn't just one bad weekend, it was another chapter in Ferrari's long tradition of mismanaging its own power. The drivers change, the engineers rotate, but the culture of hesitation remains. For fans, for rivals, for Hamilton himself, Baku confirmed what many suspected. Ferrari hasn't escaped its ghosts, they're repeating them, and this time with the most experienced driver of a generation watching every move. The radios told more than strategy, they revealed character. Hamilton's voice, calm even in frustration, was a study in control. A single word, damn it, then silence. No tantrum, no blame. Just the sound of a man already calculating what this failure meant for the bigger war. For him, every order, every hesitation is data. He records, he remembers, he adapts. Leclerc's voice, in contrast, cracked. Sarcasm first. He can enjoy that P8. Then anger. It's just stupid, it's not fair. The mask slipped. Behind the calm interviews, the frustration of being undermined again came pouring out. His instinct wasn't to calculate, it was to react. This is the difference. Hamilton plays chess, Leclerc plays emotions. One gathers information for the future, the other vents in the present, and Ferrari is trapped between them, the strategist and the reactor, the leader and the loyalist. What Baku proved is that Hamilton is already shaping the narrative inside Ferrari, even when he doesn't intend to. His restraint made Leclerc's outburst louder. His silence amplified the cracks in the team. And that psychological imbalance is more dangerous to Ferrari than any lost points. Ferrari wanted order. Instead, they got exposure. What was supposed to be a clean exchange for P8 became a broadcast of dysfunction that rivals, fans, and the media will not forget. For Leclerc, the damage is psychological. He obeyed, he complained, and in the end, he was left humiliated. Every sarcastic word on the radio confirmed to the paddock that he feels undermined inside his own team. That image will follow him long after Baku. For Hamilton, the consequence is paradoxical. Officially, he apologized, calling it a misjudgment, but symbolically, his P8 sent a message. Even when he fails, Ferrari bends. He doesn't lose control, Ferrari does, and that is exactly what terrifies those resisting his influence in Maranello. And for Ferrari itself, the stakes just got higher. This was not a championship fight, but it revealed how fragile the system already is. If they cannot execute a midfield order, how will they handle the weight of real podium battles? How long before the drivers' rivalry becomes the team's civil war? The next races won't just be about speed, they'll be about trust, about who dares to lead and who is forced to follow. And that battle has only just begun. Ferrari thought this was about 8th and 9th place, but you know the truth, it was about power, it was about hierarchy, and it was about the moment when a single misjudgment exposed an entire system. Hamilton apologized, Leclerc fumed, the engineers stumbled, and Ferrari left Baku weaker than they arrived. That is the story no broadcast will tell you, but here we don't just watch Formula 1, we decode it. Now it's your turn. Do you believe Hamilton's P8 proved he is already reshaping Ferrari from the inside? Or was this just another chapter of chaos from a team that cannot control its own drivers? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you stand with Hamilton in this fight, let Ferrari see it. Write #stand with Lewis. The next race will not simply decide points, it will decide trust. Subscribe now, because when the lights go out, the civil war inside Ferrari will ignite again, and you won't want to miss the next move in this battle.